Welcome back to what fascinates us about conspiracy theories. Why is the thought that there is more than meets the eye when it comes to our government so appealing to us? Do we want to distrust those in charge? Or is it because they are in charge that we distrust them? Or perhaps we just have a very vivid imagination and reality just doesn't live up to our expectations. Earth, the only place we know of that harbors life. 4.5 billion years old, and the third rock from the sun. Our home. On this small, almost insignificant blue rock, every person who has ever existed lived out their lives. The starting point for humanity, with near limitless boundaries beyond it for us to explore and expand. Or have we all been lied to? Is everything we know about our planet false? What if I told you that all the governments of the world has united to hide the true facts about our world, and corrupt our scientific understanding of the physical forces of the universe? What if I told you that our world is in fact a flat disk? You'd be right to think of me as crazy, because the idea that our world is a flat disk does not fit with the overwhelming amount of evidence to the contrary. Gravity, magnetism, and particle physics, they all not just depend on our planet, our universe in fact, working the way we understand them based on scientific research and empirical evidence. They are the evidence that they all work the way we understand them. Flat earthers are not inherently conspiracy theorists, but they tend to implicate conspiracies as part of why we've been led to believe that our world is a sphere. But that our planet and all other planets are evidently spheres is not something we've been told by a committee of people who decides what the world should know, but by scientific research done independently all over the world over the last few millennia. As far back as the 3rd century BC did people consider the Earth as a sphere, as opposed to the earlier Mesopotamian mythology that portrayed Earth as a flat disk floating in a cosmic ocean. By the 6th century BC and the birth of Hellenistic astronomy did people establish the Earth's spherical shape as a physical given, and was later adopted throughout the Old World over the next few centuries. During the 1500s, Ferdinand Magellan and Juan Sebastian Elcano practically demonstrated the shape of our planet by circumnavigating it. And it was mathematically proven again by Isaac Newton in his work Principia in the 17th century, albeit with a slight alteration from our planet being a sphere to the more accurate ellipsoid. We have millennia of evidence to provide us with a pretty good idea of the shape of our world. So why are there still some, albeit few, that still believe the world is a flat disk? I've heard countless times from flat earthers that NASA is responsible for misleading mankind into believing that the shape of our planet is ellipsoid. But that doesn't account for all the millennia of overwhelming evidence that came before NASA, or all the astronomy done by everything from hobby astronomers to large-scale astronomical organizations all over the world for the last century. There's a reason flat earthers are never professional astronomers, because once you have the tools to see ours and other planets in all their glory, your belief that planets are flat will be shown to be demonstratively and evidently wrong. So what's to blame for flat earthers believing in such nonsense? We are. When our educational system fails those it's supposed to teach, we run the risk of creating entire generations of scientifically illiterate people who can do naught but look at the horizon, see a flat edge and come to the conclusion that what he or she is looking at must be flat. When people fail to understand how science and evidence works, they resort to one of the most fundamental parts of being human, presumptions based on what we can see. And we can't fathom how awesome and terrifying reality can actually be. And that leads me to my next topic, 9/11 truthers. On the morning of September the 11th, 2001, the world was shaken by a terrorist attack on the free world. 3,000 people were killed, and not just Americans. People of many different nationalities were killed and injured by the actions of the Islamic terrorist group known as Al-Qaeda. It was an unbelievably horrific attack that still echoes to this day, 15 years later. It affected us all, regardless of nationality. We just couldn't believe that such a thing could happen in the civilized world. But it did. But according to some people, Al-Qaeda had nothing to do with the attack. That it was in fact an attack perpetrated by the US government and shadow organizations. My sources seem to vary a lot on the variables of why the US government would launch an attack on their own soil, killing both their own people and others from all around the globe. Some say it was led by George W. Bush Jr. to cement his position as President of the United States of America for one more term. Others say it was done to allow the US government to start a war. And some even claim it was done by Larry Silverstein, the current owner of the World Trade Center site, who in July 24, 2001 had acquired the entire World Trade Center complex after having placed a bid when Port Authority put it up for lease in 2000. The conspiracy theory is that Silverstein had insured the World Trade Center for a large sum of money just before the attack, and were aware that the attack was going to take place. Whether it was done directly by Silverstein or a third party in cohort with Silverstein is unclear, since different truthers seem to disagree. There are countless videos and photographs that supposedly show everything from missile attacks to thermite and controlled demolition. There are even people who believe UFOs and aliens were involved, or that the entire thing was just a hoax. But to avoid turning into a debunking video or requiring any scientific understand that the 9/11 attacks were against the entire world, not just the US. And it wasn't a small, isolated event that the world was unaware of. The entire world witnessed it and were in shock. Scientists, architects and engineers from all over the world has looked into how the towers collapsed, why they collapsed and whether it could have been prevented. It would have been impossible to commit such a crime against the free world without anyone, anywhere figuring out the truth. And to this date, not a single government has publicly announced that the 9/11 attacks were perpetrated by the US. Why is that? Are they all collectively afraid of the US government? Or are they all in on it? I doubt it's either. I believe we, as one species, should stop bickering amongst ourselves and try to help each other make the world a better place, instead of trying to blame the wrong people for committing heinous crimes against humanity. It is disrespectful to the men and women that died during the attack on the World Trade Center on September the 11th, when it is so evidently clear that it was an act of terrorism committed by a group of delusional people. But it did show us a few things: how fast we are to respond to horrific actions, how we are all affected by the actions of a select few, and how difficult it is for some people to realize that there are truly bad people in this world that are willing to do horrible things to its fellow man because of beliefs. We all have beliefs, but sometimes our beliefs make us do crazy things, or ignore reality in favor of delusions. And when that happens, things like 9/11 happens. So be more skeptical and question your own beliefs. This has been Alexander with some thoughts on conspiracy theories. Cheerio!